Welcome back to His and Hers Movie Podcast. This is episode number 37, featuring a review of the brand new sequel horror anthology film, Tales from the Hood 3. It is October 11th, 2020 at the time of recording. My name is JP, one half of your hosting duo, podcasting out of southwestern Pennsylvania. And joining me tonight is my good friend Carrie, podcasting out of southwest PA as well. What's up?
Not much at all. What is up with you?
Well, I am pretty happy. Just got done watching some football, because it's football day, as you know.
Of course. Yes, I know, yes.
You love football day?
I don't.
You don't?
No, you ignore me the whole time, and you neglect our pod, and it's like you just are a totally different person and don't care.
Why?
I don't know, dude. It's like you think football is more important than anybody. More importantly, me,
well,
in our pod.
It is pretty important.
Why? Actually, don't answer that. I don't feel like making a discussion about football. I've already started listening to your latest episode of 22 Shots, and I'm mad.
Why
you
are
guys
you...
are talking about like baseball in that one. Which is pretty much the same thing.
Actually, you know what? We spend at least like 20 minutes talking about sports at the beginning of the next one, too.
No!
What?
It's horrible, dude.
Why?
Because you're bringing down the quality of your pod. There, I said it.
Why?
Because nobody wants to hear that. I promise. I swear.
What did Mood say? You made Mood laugh about something. I forget what it was.
What, when?
I think it was like before the show. He was laughing at something you said.
Where did I say a thing?
I don't remember.
Was it like an old thing I said?
No, I think it was like on a post or something. I don't remember.
Oh.
I can't remember. I wanted to tell you, but I forgot.
I see. Now I am very curious. But, yeah, anyway, Sunday for me, it's just Sunday stank day. I don't really watch sports, but I, went out to eat with my dad this morning for breakfast, and after that, came home, watched the Masters of Horror episode, because it's a 2005 move, and it was Jennifer, and that's easily one of the best episodes, so that was cool. And then I kind of just did a whole, I have a horror puzzle I've been trying to work on a little bit that I bought online, but it's like really hard because it's one of those ones where like the whole border is the same color, so it's real annoying, but I was working on that a little bit.
What is it?
And it's like just like a collage of horror villains, and honestly, I'm kind of annoyed because they didn't send me, and this is my fault for like ordering off a sketchy company, but it looked like a cool puzzle and I couldn't help it. They sent me like the wrong design of the puzzle, but it took forever to receive it, so I didn't even make a big deal out of it because like...
You should say something. They might just send you another one.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I should email them, but yeah, I was just afraid to like, I didn't want to like send it back and then take another 3 months to send me one because I was amazed I even got it because I get nervous ordering off of stupid sites. But it's just like a collage of all the horror villains, and but it's got like a white border around it, so it's a pain in the butt to make. But I was kind of working on that a little bit today, and that's basically it for today, that is.
Sounds pretty cool.
I also went to another haunted house yesterday with my friend, and it was Rich's Fright Farm, another one around here. We know, like, seems like all the haunted houses, there's like 3 haunted houses on the same general area around here, like all going towards the U-Town, and we were saying about that, but that one was okay. It was like all outdoors this year. They didn't do it in the house, and, like Haunted Hills Estate, that one we went to 2 weeks ago, that one, or 3 weeks ago at this point, that one was like, it's a haunted house, so they had it all indoors, so I don't get why this one couldn't do the same thing, but it was like a hayride, which was pretty good, and then you just walk through where the house would be, but it's all outdoors, so you're like walking through cemetery areas and stuff like that. And that was alright, and then, like, it ends with this black maze, and I thought that was pretty weak, because they didn't have anybody in there scaring you. It was just a blackout maze, and that was it.
So,
not blackout, it was, like, you could see everything. It was just a black maze.
When was the first haunted house you ever went to? Or, like, hayride?
I think it was actually Kennywood's Fright Night, if you count that, back when I was 13.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I think that same year I went to Alan's Haunted Hayride for the first time with some friends. So.
Yeah, Alan's was my first one, too. I think I was 6.
Yeah, that one's, like, kid-oriented.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not really that scary. Like, it's always been... And they don't change anything up there, really, either. But,
They do chainsaws on the cage still? Or do they not have the cage anymore?
I don't know. I haven't been to that one in a while. I worked at that one, but I haven't been there since then.
When I was a kid, I remember you would get on the hayride, but it was enclosed. It was like a big metal cage over top of the cart, and there would be hay on the cart. And then as you were going through the area, like, people with chainsaws would jump and climb on it and chainsaw the cage, so there'd be sparks flying everywhere and stuff. That was really scary when I was a kid.
You might be right, because I remember the last time I went, I think they were, like, maybe not chainsawing it, but they were, like, climbing up on it and, like, shaking it. And I was actually really upset because one of them jumped into the thing and actually, like, hit me in the head really hard with his foot. So it kind of annoyed me, because you're not supposed to be touching the people. And
see, that would not annoy me. I would be glad.
But he, like, hurt me. He, like, actually, it was in my head.
He hurt you?
Yes, it hurt.
You're still hurt?
Not now. This is, like, years ago. I'm just saying, like, like, know your role.
Really? You were hurt?
Like a Michael Myers guy.
Aww,
yes, I was
poor
hurt.
Baby was hurt.
You kicked me in the freaking head, bro. If it happened to you, you would have been like, "What's up? I'm gonna fight you after the thing." Like you did. You said you did it Fright Farm that one time.
No. That was not me. I just was backing up my boy, because like that's what we're supposed to do. No, I agree that he was an idiot. Like, even afterwards, I was like, you know, that guy was in the right? I know, like, I still defended you and stuff, but that guy was totally in the right. Basically, it was me and my 2 boys, Marty and Martin, and these 2 girls that we were hanging out with. And my friend Martin, like, was trying to be like, you know, the protector, if you will. So we're walking through the haunted house and stuff, and we go into the one room, and it's one of those guys who are, like, scream a lot, like, you know how, like, some people scare you by just yelling at you, you know?
Yeah.
And he was, like, he had a metal pipe, and he was banging it on things and stuff like that, and he got up real close. I mean, he was really close to the girl's face, like, an inch away, and he was, like, he screamed at her, and she was, like, you know, did a scared thing. And he, like, jumped in between and, like, pushed the dude back with his hand and, like, got in front of the girl. And the dude freaked out. He was like, what the F? You know, he's like, what the is your problem? And Martin was like, yo, back up or something. And then he was like, it's a haunted house. It's my job to scare her, you moron. And, like, it was just like we were just like standing off there, and I was like, it was like we both started like yelling at each other. Like we almost like fought the guy in the middle of the damn room, and there's like a line behind us and stuff like that. But we were totally in the wrong. I just was like the guy was really aggressive with Martin. Like he was about to like fight him. Like, and actually Martin even seemed a little taken back, like he didn't expect that reaction, you know what I mean? So he was like kind of off his game a little bit, but
yeah, I'd be so embarrassed.
See you outside, bro. Yeah, one time something like that happened at Fright Night. One of my friends bumped into a dude or something. He wasn't a worker, but he bumped into a dude, and the dude like flipped, and my friend Dean just knocked him out, like right there. It was kind of scary. Dude's head hit off like the cement and stuff.
Could have killed him.
Yeah, and then we left. And didn't get in trouble.
Good for you, buddy. Good for you.
But yeah, I mean, dude, it was a mistake, and dude got all up in his face. But that dude wasn't really the guy you did that to, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's haunt season. I haven't been to any. I don't know if I'll get a chance to go. My work schedule's kind of crappy, and like, on Fridays I have 22 shots, so that kills my Friday, and then usually I'm working Saturdays, and if I'm not, I'm off for the fights, so I don't really have time to do any type of haunts or whatever. They've never, honestly, for being a massive horror fan, they've never really been my favorite thing anyway, so I'm not too bummed out about it. But
I do, like, especially now, they're very expensive to get into, and they don't really...
That's one of the issues. They're not the time, like... you ran through Rich's the other day. Like, how long did it take? Half hour?
Yeah, probably. I didn't even count, but it seemed like very short. Like, when we were done, I was a little disappointed. Like I said, this year they didn't do it. They usually that's usually the best one around here, according to most people. I mean, they have, because it takes you on a hayride out to this nice big, like, mansion-y looking display house, and then you go through the whole house, and it's usually really big. But this year it was all outdoors, and I don't think they really did it up to where it was longer. It felt shorter, and then, like I said, the last one you went through was just this maze that wasn't that good. There was nothing in it. There was like one scary girl at the end, and that was it. So, like, by the time we walked out, I was kind of like, that was like lame. But I enjoy doing them. It's just something to do with friends, and I like the atmosphere, and I like looking at the set pieces for these places. That's my favorite thing, is going through the haunted house and seeing the cool designs and stuff like that, because usually they're really good. So, but yeah, I'm not really scared by them anymore. Like, when I was a teenager I was, but now it's just like, these are just a bunch of teenagers dressed in costumes screaming in my face.
Yeah, it was always funny because like when I was in high school, it was kind of the thing to do in like October, like on the weekends, was go there. And sometimes you would see people you went to school with working as like the people. Like there was this one girl that I knew named Kelsey, and she was like one of those people who would be really still, and the way they're painted made them look like a statue, and then like jump out. You know what I mean? So it was like weird seeing people that you knew. But yeah, I loved them when I was a kid. Like my mom would take us like usually on October, like to 3 or 4 of them a year. She was really big on that. And then also they were they weren't as expensive back then. Now they really are, like, $30 for a half hour is a lot of money when you think about it. When you think about like what other forms of entertainment you could get for a half hour, or for $30, you could buy almost buy a video game, or at least a discounted one, which is hours and hours of entertainment. You could buy 3 movies. You can buy a lot of stuff, but I mean, it's still like an experience, because it's like, and you almost want to help these things out, because if they don't make money, or at least break even, they're not going to go through all that effort every year, so they do need to make money. But I just wish they would have, like, I don't know, like some like more focus on like other aspects. Like when I was a kid, they used to always bring in like a celebrity to Fright Farm.
Oh.
And they would sign autographs, so you can like go get an autograph and then go through the haunted house thing.
Yeah, they don't be doing that. I mean, they have like a live band, but it's just like, it's no one popular. It's no one like famous. But that's like the one time Kennywood didn't do their Fright Nights this year. They canceled the whole thing, but that's the only time where Kennywood's kind of worth it, is because they have like 5 different haunted houses in there, and you're paying like a little bit, probably $10 more than you would for the haunted houses you're going to, where it's just like one haunted house and that's it. So I feel like Kennywood's kind of worth it with that every year, even though they don't change up their stuff either. They need to really step it up there, because it used to be awesome, but I don't even feel like going all that much anymore. But I mean, they're fun. This one last night, there was obviously a lot of young teenagers, probably like not even maybe like 12 to 14-year-olds, and they're on the hayride, and of course everyone's saying stuff, and they're making commentary and thinking they're so funny, and it's like cringes me out because I know that was like me and my friends back in middle school, where it's like the person's like, "Are you scared?" and you're like, "No, can I have your number?" and like making like stupid comments that they think is so funny, but it's like not. And then as I was going into the house, the group behind me was literally like holding on to my backpack, and I'm like, I didn't say this, but in my head I'm thinking, I'm not in your group, like stop holding me. And then they're like pushing into me, and like I almost knocked over my friend in front of me. It was like something else. Then a guy with a chainsaw like chased them, and they like pushed over all of us and ran up into the front. So I was like, thank God. But I mean, like I said, that was me back in the day anyway, so.
Yeah. I remember being like that angsty teen who was like, I could see your makeup or something.
Like they're like, oh, you're hot or something. I don't know. And then
Yeah.
they're all laughing, and it's like, no one else thinks you're funny, kids. But
Yeah. But see, like, that stuff doesn't bother me too much when I see kids doing that, you know. Now in the movie theater, yeah, I'm gonna be like, yo, chill the hell out.
no, it doesn't bother me. I'm just saying it's like cringe because I know I acted like that. I would do that too with all my friends back in the day, and it's like, ooh, now I see.
Yeah.
It does bother me that I don't like when people are holding on to me because my backpack has like all my stuff in it, and I'm like, what if they're pickpocketing me in the back and stuff like that? That's all I'm thinking of. But it was fun.
Cool. Yeah, I had a pretty basic week, pretty busy at work the past, like, day or two. Like, boy, it was really busy last night. I almost lost it, man. People are insane, man. People are insane.
People like staying in hotels, buddy. What can I say?
Yeah, and they also like complaining, too.
Yeah. Is your elevator still broke there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have two, so.
I know, that's lucky that you actually have two there.
Oh my God, yeah, I would.
Like, I mean, like the other hotel we worked at had that one, and it's just.
You're just
that
screwed.
was like
I remember one
riot
time.
when that would be out.
I remember one time the elevator broke down and there was a dude in a wheelchair on like 3rd floor, and I was like, dude, I never thought of that. Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Like, what if there's an emergency and everybody has to exit?
Yeah, you literally have to carry that guy in your arms if you have
Yeah,
to
and
get
the
him
dude
out.
was like huge. I was like, he would definitely die. I don't see anybody being able to get him out of this building.
Yeah.
But besides that, what's anything? I mean, my week was pretty basic. Did 22 shots. Well, we went to the drive-in on last Sunday that we'll talk about. But
Yeah.
so yeah. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Not much. Pretty chill week.
All right, so let's get into our what we watched, I guess.
All right.
All right, I shall go first.
Yes.
I think I had watched this before, but I forgot to mention it last week. And it is American Murder: The Family Next Door. This is the new documentary on Netflix. It came out September 30th. I think that Netflix is severely uninteresting for the most part. None of the new shows or movies that come on Netflix I'm usually interested in. I am interested to see Babysitter 2 that came out, and I think there might be like 1 or 2 other movies that came out this month or so that I'm interested in. But I remember a couple years ago when it was like, you know, they were like Gerald's Game and Hush, and like there are all these cool movies coming to Netflix that I really enjoyed. And now I just am uninterested in most of this stuff, except for their documentaries. I think Netflix, the documentaries that they do are what really keeps me keeping a Netflix subscription, because I don't watch pretty much anything on there other than their new documentaries usually. So, this one, American Murder: The Family Next Door, is a documentary about a woman who disappears, and her husband may be to blame. It's a woman and her two young daughters, his daughters as well, disappear. It's his wife and his two daughters, and the police begin to question him, and things aren't adding up. The story actually only happened like 2 years ago. It's like from 2018, which is super modern and relevant. And one of the interesting things about this particular case is how much footage is available. And the entire footage of them searching the house for Shanann, the woman, and the children is on the police's body cam footage, so it all exists, and you get to see like the whole process, which is not something that typically happens. And then also the person in question, Shanann, she was extremely active on social media with like live streams and stuff, so you have all this footage of her before she goes missing. And even you have a lot of footage of the husband because he's in a lot of the videos. Like she you know, did a video of her telling him that she was pregnant again or something. Oh, and she was this is something I always forget, but she was pregnant during this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's an extremely disturbing, sad documentary. It makes you extremely angry too for what happened to this woman and her two children. And you honestly just look at the suspects involved and you're like, how would you do that? Like, it just doesn't make any logical sense, especially for the reasonings behind it. It's sickening to think that somebody would go to that extreme simply to do something that could have easily been done another way. It's pretty messed up story. Makes you feel bad, you know. Thoughts go out to that family because that's horrible to go through. I mean, I couldn't imagine. But the only thing that I'll say that, like, why it wasn't that super good to me is because I was extremely familiar with this case, and I've pretty much seen all that footage before. So the only thing that was really new was the length and a little bit more detail on the actual relationship between Shanann and the people in the film, like her mother-in-law and her husband and her friend and stuff like that. You didn't really get that on the things that I've seen, so it puts a little bit more perspective and makes it even more, a little more tragic. And then they do this cool editing where which I've never seen any of these before, but it shows text messages between her and her husband and her friend and stuff like that. So, and then it flashes up on screen. And it's really cool and makes it very digestible, the story. So it's really good. If you like true crime stuff, and you don't know much about this case, it's gonna blow you away probably. If you are super familiar with the case, it's still fascinating to watch, but it's not gonna shed much new light on what you already know. I gave it an 8 out of 10 though. It's pretty well done. And it's called American Murder, The Family Next Door. I don't know if this is going to be a series of documentaries like American Murder, The Killer in the Sewers or something, you know what I mean? But that would be cool because Netflix kills it with these docs. Like, they're so good. Next up, I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? 2019. This was I mentioned it was the TV, did I review this last week?
No, I think you mentioned it, though.
Okay. I finished it up. Yeah, I think I said that I started it. It's 3-episode miniseries, 40 minutes long each. It's about anybody who's familiar with the Are You Afraid of the Dark series. It was a series that ran in the early 90s to the late 90s. And it was an anthology series on Nickelodeon where a group called the Midnight Society would sit around a campfire each week and tell a story. The story could range from anything from a haunted pinball machine all the way up to a clown who wants back a cigar-smoking clown who wants back his nose. And this reboot follows the Midnight Society, but instead of telling stories each week, it's a movie featuring, or a miniseries featuring them. So they do tell the stories, and it's, you know, pretty cool. but then the story basically comes to life, similar to like Goosebumps, that movie they made. I think that's what happened in there. And it's about the Carnival of Doom, and it comes to the town and children start disappearing. I thought it was okay. I like the concept of like actually having a story involving the Midnight Society, because even when I was a kid and you would get the bookends with the Midnight Society, I always thought they were cool, and I wish you got more of them. So that's pretty cool, but the story itself is kind of a little lackluster. It really wasn't all that scary, and I know you're saying like scary, it's a kid's show, but trust me, like the original series had some scary episodes in them, and it wasn't really that like cool in terms of like the original series would have a twist or the ending would usually be cool. This really doesn't have that. It's kind of a straightforward story. The villain's kind of weak. The characters are okay. The one kid who played Ben in It is in this, and that's kind of it for it. It was satisfying because it was a cool like reboot, and there is a really cool nod to the original series. Towards the end of one of the stories, the characters basically sets up season 2, if you will, and they're like, I call this tale the tale of the return of the Ghastly Grinner. And anybody who's a big fan of the series knows what that means, because the Ghastly Grinner is considered one of the best episodes there is. So that was really cool. And the cool thing about the DVD, so I'll rate that at 6.5 out of 10 for the miniseries. But the cool thing about the DVD, there are 3 episodes included on the DVD from the original series. And I wondered what they were going to pick, because there really are a lot of good episodes, and I just thought they would throw like 3 random ones on there. But they actually threw like probably the 3 best, or like 3 of the best episodes, and that's The Tale of the Ghastly Grinner, The Tale of Dead Man's Float, and The Tale of the Laughing in the Dark. And The Tale of the Laughing in the Dark is basically a really good episode to throw in here, because it also takes place at a carnival. It's about a kid who's a little smart ass and acts cool in front of his friends, and basically is the kids that Carly were talking about earlier. And they go to like a haunted thing, and he's like, I'm not scared, blah blah blah. And there's a story of Zebo the Clown, who was a circus worker or something, who like, I forget, he like robbed a bank, or he did something, but he like got caught in a fire and burned up in the funhouse, and apparently his ghost still haunts the funhouse. You get to the end of the funhouse, and there's like 6 doors, and one of the, like 5 of the doors like let you out of the funhouse, but one door has Zebo behind it, so like you get really unlucky and get him, and it's just a clown with a big grinny face with a cigar, and they dare him to go steal Zebo's nose, so he does, and then Zebo is like after him and like showing up at his house and stuff. He's like finding cigars in his food and shit. And it's funny because it's like cigars in a kid's show, but it's like, he's like, it smells like cigars. He's like, wait, cigar smoke? And he opens the pot, and there's like cigars floating in it. But it's actually kind of scary, you know, and it's a really good episode. And then the second one is The Tale of the Ghastly Grinner, which has one of the cooler villains. And this is one about a comic book that this kid reads, and it basically comes to life, and it's this jester, blue and yellow looking guy, and he basically like turns people into zombies, and he's pretty scary too. Pretty good episode. And then of course the final episode on there is probably, in my opinion, the scariest episode that they ever did. It's called The Tale of the Dead Man's Float, which I made you watch it, so what do you think?
As I told you, I thought at first I was watching it and I was like, alright, my buddy is a pussy, I don't understand what is scary, where is the punchline here? And then a very scary thing happens and I'm like, oh, now I understand. So I thought it was pretty cool, and it probably would have been very scary to me as a child. I could definitely see that because I was scared easily, so I think that would have been one that I would have really enjoyed when I was young. But,
yeah, see, I
love
that one because it, first of all, I love the series in general because it does remind you of being a kid a lot, and like they do a good job with the kids.
Yeah.
Much less cheesy than Goosebumps. Like you get the sense,
yeah.
like you do get a vibe that they're like actually kids, you know, and it's cool. But they find a room behind some lockers in their school, and it is a whole pool room. Like there's a whole pool in there. But they shut the pool down back in like the 40s or the 50s because kids like drown in it. And you find out like through this story that basically it's like a poltergeist thing where they buried it on top of an ancient Indian burial ground but didn't move all the bodies, so it's like haunting the pool. But it's freaking creepy, dude, because they actually have a monster in it, like a dead person zombie thing.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I remember when I first seen that, I was like, holy hell, like what the hell is that, you know? Because it's like this bloody, scary skeleton, scary thing.
Yeah, it's an evil looking mother effer.
And
no one's like coming at them. It's like real scary.
Yeah, and I give it credit right at the opening because they kill a kid. They drown a kid in a pool.
Right.
Like, what other kids TV show actually has like permanent death in it of like murder? You know?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So I've always loved that episode. But man, all this made me want to do is get all the episodes and watch them all because they like there are so many good episodes in there, and it honestly is a series that needs a re-release because it had original DVDs like over a decade ago, and they were always expensive back then. They were like $40 for one season for like 13 episodes of this 20-minute show. And then those went out of print, and they re-released them through Amazon in volumes on Manufacture on Demand, which is DVD-Rs. So it's like kind of, I just make my own DVD-Rs at that point. And they didn't release all the seasons, so they stopped at season 4 or 5, which I think there's 8 seasons, so that's annoying. It really needs a re-release. Like, I was hoping that the success of this miniseries, because they do tease a season 2 on the inside pamphlet of the DVD, I was hoping that would kickstart an interest in it and they might release the original series on DVD or something. But the thing about it is, I think that COVID probably shut down season 2 because you'd think it would have aired on Nickelodeon this year. So hopefully that still is in the works for maybe next year, even in the summer or something. But yeah, pretty great. There's another episode that I always think of. It's basically Nosferatu. These two kids work in a rundown theater that's kind of on its last leg, and this creepy guy comes in and basically offers if they show his movie once a week on a midnight screening, he promises that people will come in droves to the movie theater, and so they do. But then like the screening is basically like, it's basically Nosferatu, and then like there's a Nosferatu vampire monster that comes like out of the screen. It's pretty cool.
Scary, buddy.
Yep. Okay, then we saw the 2 movies at the drive-in, which we'll get to. So then I watched Pet Sematary, the original, and I just gotta say, you once again were completely wrong about a movie.
Why?
Because it is completely played straightforward, and it's good.
I didn't say it's not played straightforward.
Buddy, you said it's hilarious.
Yeah, when I'm watching it with my mom and she's like, oh, this doesn't, like, it's funny, it doesn't hold up.
I don't know if you and your mom are the sharpest tools in the shed.
I'm pretty sharp. Listen, dude,
What about her?
No, she's alright. I mean, no, she's fine. I mean, I told you she watched The Mist for the first time the other night, and she was like, oh, I didn't like that ending. That wasn't a happy ending. She was like, I like happy endings. And that's all she said. She didn't say anything else. But, no, buddy, I just felt there were some moments in the movie that, like, we were, like, it's one of those things where you're watching with someone and you're, like, noticing details that make you laugh that you shouldn't be laughing at usually.
Yeah, whatever. It is a movie about a family who moves into a new house. There's a dangerous road where cars drive up and down the road really, really fast, and there's also a pet cemetery. But beyond the pet cemetery, the place beyond the pet cemetery is a ancient Indian burial ground where the ground turns sour, and the Indians stopped using it. There's a neighbor named Judd Crandall who knows a lot about the area, and he talks to the family and basically fills them in on this. Basically this thing where if you bury somebody up there, they come back to life, or an animal. So that's basically the plot. I watched it on 4K, probably one of my favorite 4K releases. I'm not gonna lie, like I think it's like super good. I know that it doesn't have the best reviews, but for me, it's one of the best ones. It's an amazing movie. I love it. I love like all the little details in the film, with the dialogue and the character developments of the little girl and you know, her cat, and like the idea of like when should we know about death as children? Is it better not to know? Like you hear those stories where like our cat died, so we went and found another cat that looks just like it, and we brought it into the family, and the kids didn't notice, or like goldfish or whatever. You know, should we be faced with death? How do we handle death? Some people handle it differently. Other people freak out and get angry. Other people kind of get blank and lose it. Some people laugh, like Rachel.
Right.
Super cool. It's a movie about death, and like I said in my other review on my YouTube channel, like all horror movies are about death in some way, but I think this one hits it a little bit different. It's a fantastic move, one of my favorite horror movies, and I think that everybody should see it. It is great.
And read the book. Yeah, so that's something that is interesting, because in the movie, everything feels like it goes so fast because, you know, it does. But yeah,
in the book and the movie, really, like, there's months in between these things. Like,
yeah.
Whenever in the movie Pascal comes and tells Lewis, don't go beyond the pet cemetery, and you're like, yeah, don't do it. And then, like, it feels like the next, like, 3 days later he does it. But in the movie and in the book, you're supposed to realize it's done better in the book because you have more time to explain it. But even in the movie, there's scenes of them like changing decorations for holidays and stuff, which show you time has passed.
Yeah.
So it's actually months that have went by between when Pascal comes to Lewis first and when he goes to the pet cemetery with Judd. And in the book, they kind of explained that he almost even forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Like reading the book, there's a lot of moments of just Judd and Lewis hanging out on the porch drinking beers, and then there's a lot of moments with them all hanging out with, you know, Judd's wife being in the book, and they're talking about the different holidays and seasons. So it's weird how that is, like, you know, because yeah, watching the movie, anytime I watch any movie, it's like I'm picturing it being like within 2 days or something, but really it's like the entire year goes by when this is all happening. So it's interesting. Yeah. But the book was really good, and the movie is good.
It's a 9 out of 10 good. And then continuing along, I decided to pop in the Scream Factory release of Pet Sematary 2 because I haven't opened it. Same sort of thing, but way different. Basically, there's this kid named what the hell is his name? John? No, that's Terminator.
I actually don't remember. I haven't seen this movie in a while.
I know Drew is the fat kid.
Right. Jeff?
Jeff. I was close. Yeah, so Jeff is played by Edward Furlong, and he's a teenage boy, or, 13, 14. I don't know, how old do you think he is?
Probably like, I don't know, he looks like 14 to me, around
14.
There. Yeah. Yeah,
so he's a kid whose mother is an actress. She dies brutally in a movie, like for real. And he moves with his dad to a new town where his dad's going to be the veterinarian. He has, like, problems with his parental figures, and he's bummed that his mom's dead, obviously. He befriends this kid named Drew, who also has parental issues. His stepfather, Gus, is a complete asshole. And he's also the sheriff, so it makes him even more of an asshole.
Right.
And there's a bully at school who's also an asshole. And I couldn't remember who the hell he was, but then somebody left a comment on my video. He's the little brother in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Russ, or something.
The asshole kid?
Yeah.
I feel like he played in something else that I know
Probably.
too.
I like him
maybe
as an
Jack
actor.
Frost.
He was good in
Maybe
there.
not.
He's good as the bully. It was like so 90s. Good music, stuff like that. But one day the dog dies. Drew's dog dies. So they bury it up at the pet cemetery because the whole town knows like the myths and the legends and stuff like that. Comes back to life and accidentally kills Drew's stepfather, Gus, and he takes and buries him up there. And then more people get buried up there. It's honestly like super solid to me. Its tone is completely different. It's like more of a horror comedy, but I just think that it's cool. I like it. Gus is a trip. The bully's a trip. There's some good music in it. There's some good nods to the original film with continuity and stuff like that I really dig. The only thing I'll say is it doesn't necessarily feel like the same town.
Yeah, I agree.
But we never really go into the town. So it's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, it's also partially set on Halloween, which is cool.
Right.
Alright, so I gave that a 7.5 out of 10. Super enjoyable movie.
Yes.
After that, I watched April Fool's Day from 1986, Scream Factory Blue that I popped in. And I took that with I got that in a like buy one get one sale a while back. Haven't opened it, collector's edition, pretty cool. Popped it in, seen it one other time. It's basically about these teens, young adults who go out to this island house getaway thing to spend the weekend, but people start dying and they need to figure out why. It's a super likable movie, honestly. Like, I think it's a really fun slasher. It doesn't have like the best like killer or anything, especially like once you've seen the movie. Like, everything's done from like either POV or like you don't like see the killer. He's not like wearing a Jason mask or something, you know, or like a mask or anything. So that's so you have that, but it kind of makes sense in the end when you know the ending. Some people hate the ending. I actually like it. I think that it is pretty cool, and it's actually like pretty likable. It's like it's a positive outcome, which you normally don't get. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Amy Steele is in it. Of course, she played Ginny in Friday 2, and she does a good job. So yeah, I gave that one I think an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
And then after that, I watched Carrie, the original. I'm not going to talk too much about it because we do it on 22 shots. But it is already in our Hall of Fame. I've been very public about my opinions of it. It's in my like top 20 favorite horror films ever. It's a 10 out of 10. I think this time watching it and getting to talk about it, I really, if you guys are listening to me here and don't plan on checking out that 22 Shots episode, listen to it, because I really think that we kind of nail what I like about Carrie in that episode. I think it's one of our better reviews in a while. And we actually weren't, like, pretty much that whole episode, we pretty much were in agreement with each other, which never happens. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Like, me, Moods, and Jeremy weren't, like, battling, like, with devil's advocate approaches. It was just like, yeah, I like that too. Or, no, I don't like that too. So, Carrie 10 out of 10. Then I watched The Rage Carrie 2. Again, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I will say I was definitely surprised with it. Whether that means it's bad or good, check out the episode. Then I watched Carrie O2, and I wanted to revisit that one because of Angela Bettis, and I just recently watched May. Watching it now, I can say that I don't think Angela Bettis killed that role. I thought she was going to, but no. And then I watched Carrie 2013 with Chloe Grace Moretz, and I was surprised with that one too. I'll leave it at that. So watched all the Carrie movies, 3 of them in one night, and they're almost 2 hours, so it was like 6 hours of Carrie almost, which was a little rough. And I started at like 12:30 at night, midnight, which was a little bit rough. It was like done at like 6 a.m.
Yeah, that sucks.
And then I watched, I popped in my Friday the 13th box set. No, I didn't watch all of them, but I did start with part 2 since I watched part 1 earlier this year. And I'll say that I was a little, at first I was a little bit disappointed with the transfer because I was expecting like to be mind blown, but it's only a slight improvement over the last transfer, but it still looks really good. It still looks really good. I love Friday too, man. I think Jason is the scariest in that one. He's that in part 3. I think part 3 has a really scary Jason too, but it's mainly because he takes off the mask and stares at her.
And he's like, part 3 always, he's like making noises and stuff. Like he gets cut and he's like, oh, and it's like he's so human and terrifying. I like part 2 and 3 the best too.
Yeah, but in this one, like seeing, like when she gets to the little shack out in the woods and seeing Jason out of the window, like running, it's creepy. And then like when he runs up to the car and when he's like in the room and stuff, and it's just really neat, man. I like Burlap Sack Jason. It's a great Friday. It's a great slasher. There's some brutal kills in there, like the damn wheelchair dude. I feel bad for that guy.
Yeah.
But I actually watched the so for the longest time, there have been a few Friday the 13th who were really cut. And for the longest time, I mean like always, they were cut. And they had a lot more gore, but the MPAA like destroyed that. And the 2 most notable ones are part 2 and part 7. And forever, that footage was considered to be lost, or actually lost in a fire, from what I understand, in the Paramount vault. Some people say it was just thrown away, which is just insane if that's true. It's sickening. But apparently, one of the guys who worked on the film, I forget who, he had a VHS tape that had all that gore footage. Unfortunately, there's no audio to it, so that's why they didn't insert it back into the film, because that would have been freaking epic if they had done that, but there's no audio to it, so I understand why they didn't. But the footage is available to see finally for the first time ever on the DVD or the Blu-ray, and I was watching it and I was like, dude, I forgot that there was this much that was cut out. The only thing I know of is the scene in the double impalement with the spear through the mattress, because I had seen that footage before somewhere. I don't remember where, but I had definitely seen the uncut version. But the one that surprised me was Adrian King's kill is completely like, it's way more graphic. Like, the screwdriver that goes in the side of her head comes out of her like side of her nose, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that actually. Either I didn't know or I forgot. But yeah, I wanted to I wanted to dive deeper into the box set, but like I'm kind of like iffy on it, because we may actually get around to actually finally doing the Friday films on 22 shots, not soon, but within the next year and a half or a year. So yeah. I kind of was like, do I want to revisit them all? But then I'm like, I don't know, because like I'm a Friday fan, so I've seen them a bunch already. I doubt it's going to ruin my enjoyment of doing that show.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I might pop in part 3 tonight. But then I'm also like, I got to keep up on these 31 days, and I don't necessarily want to review all the Friday films. I feel like that's just a cheap way to do it. But maybe I will. I don't know. So I stopped there, but I'm really debating on putting in part 3, because I just want to watch it.
Do what you want, buddy.
And yeah, so I give Friday 2 a 9 out of 10. Could be a 9.5, could be a 10. I don't know. I've never really rated these films seriously in like a critical way. I'll save that for 22 shots, but I'm kind of scared too because I don't really. It's always weird rating a movie you love that much, you know?
Yeah, I like don't know how to rate the main franchise movies that well. Like especially Friday. I never know.
Friday's the hard one for me because I don't know what to rate them either because like
they're all
to me,
nostalgic.
They're great. Like I love them, but like I don't know if like the critical points resonate with me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But after that, just a couple more here. I watched Cube from 1990. What, 7? No.
Yeah, 7. Year of my birth.
Yeah. Which is crazy because I remember watching Cube in 1997.
Oh.
Yeah, so Cube came out and it was on video, and we went to a place. Actually, I rented it from Videoland, which is the video store that was in Brownsville at the top of the hill by the Big Banana. You know that one?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like kind of by the Foodland, but not Ellen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I rented it from there, and I watched it with my aunt, and it was really, really good. Like I loved it even back then when I was like six or 7. And I used to watch it all the time. It was on Sci-Fi. I even recorded it off the TV one time because I loved it so much. I watched it a couple years ago. Revisiting it now, still just as good. Love it. 100%. Love everything about it. The only thing that's wrong with it is the Cube's move in the movie. Well, the story follows like a couple of strangers who wake up inside of a room. It's a square room or a cube room, and there is a door on the ceiling, the floor, and all 4 walls. And in that door is a cube with a door on the ceiling, the floor, and all 4 walls. Inside of one of those rooms is the same thing, so it just seems like it never ends. And it's basically a giant puzzle, and they have to try to figure out what's going on, why they're there, how to get out, what everything means, what purpose do they have. The characters have different arcs where they go from, okay, this is the leader, and he goes and becomes something else by the end of the film. This is the shy, reserved girl, she goes to this by the end of the film. This is the cynical guy who doesn't care, he turns into the hero at the end of the film, like that type of stuff, which is really cool, because it kind of strips away who they are, but shows us who they really are. I think it's amazing. It's kind of a masterpiece of independent cinema.
I would agree. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, but the only thing that that's a little iffy is there's some CGI problems, and then the cubes move, the rooms move, and it shakes sometimes, but the shaking looks horrible. It's like it looks like a TV, like a TV episode. Like a soap opera, like trying to do like an earthquake or something. But other than that, it's pretty damn amazing. Acting's really good. The twists and turns are fantastic. The ending is brilliant. Kind of like the mystery about it is great. Fantastic. Honestly, dude, I'm kind of at like a 10 on Cube. It's one of my favorite like indie films ever. I think it's like super smart.
Nice.
And then we have Cube 2 Hypercube from 2002. Decided to revisit that one. I haven't seen it in... I didn't even watch it for the 2002 show. I think I haven't seen it in like a decade, probably. No, or 2 decades. Like, since it came out, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe I've seen it like once or twice after that, but... Yeah, Cube 2, I want to say it might have been a Sci-Fi Channel movie, but I can't remember. But it basically follows like a similar thing, like a bunch of strangers wake up in a room, inside of each wall and ceiling and floor there's another room, But the thing that's different about this one is it also messes with time and space and reality and gravity. And like you can open the door to one of the walls and see somebody in there, and then if the thing closes and opens back up, they're gone. So it's like it's shifting like instantaneously. So it's not really. Have you seen this before?
No, I've only seen Cube and Cube 0, but I have not seen Cube 2.
It kind of has like certain things about it that I did like, but other things that I just thought were so stupid, and the acting's bad and the CGI's horrible. There's some acting that's good though. Like there's one character who's like really funny, but overall it took the cool stuff of Cube and really didn't do much with it. You know, the traps really aren't there. They're done in a different way. It's like super CGI and horrible. I get the concept of the Hypercube, but it's not really it's not really, it doesn't really translate well to actual thought because it is a theory, I guess. You know, it's basically a fourth dimensional cube or whatever, so instead of three-dimensional. So yeah, that's kind of weird. So yeah, that's all that I watched. I don't know, I'm at like a 5 on that one probably.
Yeah, I never bothered to watch that because I always heard it was horrible. You gave me Cube 0, that is why I watched that one, which I like that one. Alright, so I guess I shall get into what I have watched. Didn't watch as much as you, but I watched some things. First up, I watched Pyewacket from 2017, I believe. Pyewacket, that one is essentially about this girl. She lives with her mother, and her father had passed away, so it's just her and her mom, and her mom's kind of distraught, like drinking all the time and really depressed about the dad, and the girl's also depressed about it, so she kind of finds comfort by getting into like the occult and all this stuff with her friends from school. She's in high school, and her and her mom really butt heads. Her mom thinks like her friends are losers and the stuff she's doing is stupid, and then the mom's like, hey, we're gonna move to this house like out in the middle of nowhere basically, and it's you're gonna have to start a new school because I just can't stand being here, it reminds me of your dad. And of course the girl's pissed. Again, this big fight. The mom says something like really upsetting to the girl. She runs off in the woods and decides that she's going to put this basically a death curse on her mother, and to her dismay it works, and she instantly regrets doing it because then her and her mom start getting along, but weird stuff starts to kind of happen around the house and with her mother and stuff like that. So she's trying to, like, you know, reverse it and act normal and just hope it's not real and stuff like that. So yeah, this is a really good movie. I watched this for 2017, the top 10 show that I did, of course, on 22 Shots with you guys, and I don't think it made my list, but I think it was like right on the cusp because there was a lot of good movies that came out that year. But it's really good, and it's one that actually is good for Halloween time, which I didn't even realize, but watching it you could tell it takes place in the fall. Pretty sure there's no mention of Halloween or anything, but you see the leaves are all changing colors and they're on the ground, and there's a lot of scenes in the woods and stuff like that. They're really pretty, and of course it's about like witchcraft and stuff like that, so it's a good one to watch around Halloween time. And the story gets to me a little bit. I think it's pretty sad, the whole relationship with her and her mother, and the be careful what you wished for type of aspect. I just find it you kind of feel for the daughter by the end of it, because she just made a bad decision, and then it like comes true and all this stuff goes wrong. So Pyewacket, that's a really good one. I would give that like an 8.5 out of 10. After that, I had a VHS of Goosebumps, and it was the Haunted Mask episode. Of course, probably the most popular episode. I think it's also the first one that they put out. and that's from 1995, and of course this is about Carly Beth, who is a scaredy cat. There's kids at school that always spook her, and...
How do you feel about people named Carly Beth?
I don't really think Carly needs to be a name that has a middle name with it. I don't know. I've never heard... it's kind of weird, because I've never heard anyone be named, like... Well, actually, Carly Rae Jepsen, I guess, goes by Carly Rae.
It's not... I don't think it's a middle name, though. I think it's a hyphenated first name. Carly Beth.
No, I think it's like Carly... I think it's Carly and then Beth.
No, buddy. It's Carly hyphen Beth.
Kind of like how people name Mary, like, they just go... It's like Mary Elizabeth. Like,
no,
it's not hyphen.
No, it's like Mary Ann.
Mary Ann can be together. No, buddy. I swear on the back of the cover it's just Carly space Beth.
No,
right.
buddy. It's Carly hyphen Beth.
Like, she could go by Carly if she wanted to.
No, buddy.
Please look it up and show me.
Carly Beth is a real name. It's not a... It could be a one first name.
That would be... okay. Well, it is, like, she goes by... It is, like, a first name to her, because that's what she goes by, Carly Beth. But, like, I'm saying it's two names. Like, it's her other name. But anyway, I don't know. I'm not a big fan, but whatever. I do think it's cool when people are named Carly in movies and TV shows, because it's not a name that I would always hear too often, so I'm always like, hey, that's me. But,
it's like John Robert.
What?
There's like John Robert.
John Robert?
Yeah, it's one.
I don't know. What are you saying? Robert. Am I missing something? Am I missing something? Hello? Okay. Anyway, I guess I missed something. The Haunted Mask is honestly a pretty cool episode. You know, I think that a lot of these Goosebumps eps are rather cheesy, and the acting's usually pretty horrible in them, and that's that. But this one's cool because it is set on Halloween, and I think the acting's not too horrible in it. It does have its cringe, cheesy moments to it, but it's not too bad. And I think the mask actually is really well done in this one. It's been a long time since I had seen it, so it was cool revisiting it. I used to watch this. This was always on Cartoon Network. This time of year they would play some of the Goosebumps episodes, so that's probably the last time I actually sat down and watched it. But, you know, it's cool, and I like collecting those VHS tapes and just keeping them on my shelf. So for a Goosebumps episode, the atmosphere and everything like that, I would probably give this like an 8 out of 10. It's one of the better ones. So then after that, I watched Tales from the Hood Part 2 from 2018 because I saw Part 1, I had never seen Part 2, and we're doing Part 3, so it makes sense that I would check out Part 2, even though, you know, they're not, like, related, they're all anthology films. It's just to keep things in balance and make me not a Pakerton. But Tales from the Hood 2, you know,
well, Part 2 does have continuity with Part 1.
Oh, yeah, I guess there are, like, I haven't seen Part 1 in a while, but I know there are, like, aspects to it, but it's been a long...
it's just the lead.
Oh.
Keith David plays Sims. That's the same guy from Part 1.
Ooh, see, I don't remember. I should have
actors playing him.
I should have watched Part 1 again, probably, but who cares? But it was all right, honestly. You know, a lot of people hated this one when it came out. I didn't bother watching it back in 2018 because no one really said anything good about it. And honestly, I might not have even saw the first one at that point. I feel like it was last year when I first saw Part 1, so I kind of skipped it. But I didn't mind it too much. I think all the shorts are, like, fine for what they are. I think they're all passable. They're just kind of goofy and a little bit comical for the most part, besides, like, the final one, and that one's, like, really serious and pretty well done, but feels kind of off after you see all these less serious ones, and then you get a serious one that's actually kind of makes you tear up a little bit, so it's a little bit weird, but I thought all the segments were alright. It was a fun movie, in my opinion. It wasn't one to really take serious like you would the first film, where they tried a little bit harder and tried to put all these messages forth, but it was fun. I gave it like a 6.5 out of 10. You know, it is what it is. Probably not something I would revisit or be really excited to watch again, but it was whatever. Then after that, I watched Hellfest from 2018 because I think Austin gave me this one recently, and had it on my movie stack. Had been wanting to rewatch it, and it's the perfect time to rewatch it. Hellfest is a film about some teenagers who go to this festival at their local amusement park, I guess it's supposed to be, and it's essentially like anything like Kennywood Fright Nights or Universal's Horror Nights or Cedar, you know, anything like that, where it's a bunch of haunted houses, but they're like in a theme park. There's like rides, and then there's people walking around scaring you, and it's a big festivity. So they go there, and while they're there, you know, you kind of see early on at the beginning of the film that there's actually a guy in there who goes and kills people for real, and he kind of gets away with it because he's wearing a mask and blends in, and he starts stalking them out, in particular the one main girl in the group, and following them throughout the night, and then becomes kind of, you know, slasher-esque. I liked this one quite a bit when we saw it in the theater. I was surprised by it because I think it's PG-13 for one, and I just wasn't expecting much out of it, if I remember, and I really enjoyed it when I saw it in the theater. I saw it, I think, once after that, and I liked it again, and I saw it again this time, and again, like it a lot. It's one that I could probably pop in every Halloween time as a new tradition, because I think they do a good job with the setting. They utilize it well. It makes me want to go to a place like this, minus having a serial killer at it. But it's a cool movie. I think all the characters are really likable too. You know, you have like the main girl, she has like this love interest, and they're both kind of awkward with each other, and it's like really cutesy. And then you have like her one friend who's kind of like punk and seems like a bad type of girl, and rebellious in a way, and then her best friend, just all very likable characters. I really enjoy this. I give it 8 out of 10. You know, it's not anything like fantastic, but it's a fun one, I think, to watch this time of year. Then after that, I watched Urban Legends 3, Bloody Mary from 2005. This was the third time I saw this. I saw it back when I was a kid, I remember.
Jesus, why would you watch that 3 times?
Well, I watched it when I was a kid, probably around when it came out, because 2005. My mom and I watched it, and remember it not being that good, but remember being kind of creeped out by it, just because I was young. I watched it again because, again, Austin actually gave me the collection of all 3 of the Urban Legends films, so I was like, okay, well, this is a reason to revisit it, and now I'm watching it again, because it's a 2005 movie, so, yeah, and it's awful. It's basically about, and this is directed by Mary Lambert, of Pet Sematary fame, and Pet Sematary 2 fame, so, definitely a step down for her.
She directed Urban Legend 3?
Yeah.
Wow. Wait a minute. Yeah. Are you sure?
Yeah, dude, I even just double-checked to make sure I was right. I get her mixed up with the girl who did American Psycho, but it's Mary Lambert. She did the Pet Sematary films. And
I thought it was Scott Derrickson.
I don't know who that is. Maybe he... I don't know. Let me... dude, I swear I just looked it up. Scott Derrickson. What are you thinking of? That's what I want to know. He did Sinister, Deliver Us from Evil, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Oh, he did the final cut, buddy. No, he didn't. He wrote Urban Legend, the final cut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Who directed it? It doesn't say who directed that. But anyway.
Oh, no, what it was is Mike Doherty wrote this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A lot of... Some people just go and, like, make a career after doing some crap.
Yeah. Yeah, did a pretty poor job on this, because it gets worse every time I watch it. I mean, it's,
How do you not know who Scott Derrickson is, by the way?
Now I do, okay? I know the name, I just don't know... I'm not good with you could say a director's name, but I'm probably not going to know what they directed unless they're really popular, like, I don't know, Jordan Peele or something. But anyway, Urban Legends 2005, Urban Legends 3, this is about, the beginning of the movie is a prom. I think it's set in 1969, if I'm I'm not mistaken, 79, 69, something like that. And you have these girls, they're at prom with these dates. They're like football players, you know, they're jocks. And the one girl, she sees that the dates and these other girls have drugged her friends and are putting them in their car, and they plan on doing the same with her. So she freaks out, she runs away. Her name's Mary, and basically she, you know, gets knocked out by the guy, and then that's kind of that. He like puts her in the chest, and then you flash forward years ahead, and you have this new group of kids, and the same prank happens to this other girl. And then after that, there's, you know, they're talking about the legend of Bloody Mary, where you say her name all the times in the mirror, and that there is a part where they're like, oh, that's just like Candyman, and then they're like, actually Candyman stole that from Bloody Mary, and stuff like that going on. But the whole movie is this Bloody Mary, the girl from the beginning of the movie who dies, is haunting this group of friends, and the one girl and her brother in particular are trying to figure out why and how they can stop it, and like try to find her body and put this to an end. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, it reminds me, it feels like a bad Final Destination movie almost, with the deaths. There's really bad CG in this, especially with these spiders. Still got under my skin a little bit. It was gross, and there's some decent blood effects, but you know, for the most part, it's bad. The acting is awful. The main girl is just horrendous, and some of her dialogue is just really just not serious at all. It's hard to take it serious. The part that creeped me out when I was little is they do show Mary as like this ghost girl, and it feels like it's supposed to be cashing off of The Grudge of the Ring or something, where you just have a ghost girl going around, but she really doesn't look that good, and it's really cheesy and stupid. It's odd though, because, you know, it's another urban legend film. The other two are slashers. This one's more of a paranormal film, curse type of movie, so it's kind of interesting that it does that, but it's a horrible movie. It was kind of rough to get through. I just put it on the other night because I was tired and wanted something easy to watch, but I'm not a big fan. I gave that like a 3.5 out of 10, or I gave it like a 4 out of 10, because I have seen worse, but yeah, not a good move. And then after that I watched Murder Party, which I think you watched on the last ep. I picked this up at Dollar Tree recently, and it's a Halloween setting movie, so I've been trying to watch a lot of movies that just feel spooky and good for the season, so watch this again. Hadn't seen it since you and I watched it back for your 22 Shots episode a few Halloweens ago, and I remember back then, I think I was like in a bad mood that night or something, and I just kind of wasn't that into this film. I thought it was kind of had a depressing look to it. It's very bleak looking, but you know, this movie it's a short movie. It's like 80 minutes, and it's about this guy. He's kind of, you can see he's kind of a loser. He lives in like this small apartment with his cat, and doesn't have much purpose in life. He stumbles upon this invitation to a Halloween party, and he gets pumped because he's like, yay, I get to go party on Halloween for once and not be a loser at home. So he gets this he orders this costume and like throws the costume to the side and turns the box into his costume, goes to this place, and when he goes in, there's only like 5 or 6 people in there, and he's kind of like, I think I might have the wrong place, doesn't really look like a party, and they're like, no, you're just on time, and it turns out that they are planning on murdering him, so he goes to this party, and it's basically a party for his own murder. And the rest of the movie is they kind of like kidnap him and tie him to a chair, and then they're like doing drugs and like waiting on their, I guess, leader to like come by and waiting for the time to be right, and stuff like that. This movie I liked a lot more this time around. Like I said, it's a very simple film. It mainly just takes place in that one room and relies on dialogue and different characters and things like that. And they all have their unique personalities. It is a horror comedy, and I enjoyed some of the comedic moments. You know, they're all kind of doing drugs, and then I think they like shoot up heroin, and then like right after that the girl's like, let's do coke, and then they're all like dancing around and stuff like that. Reminds me of like The Breakfast Club if they were all whacked out on drugs.
If they were all pretentious douchebags.
Yeah, that too. like something about it gives me that vibe, especially when they're doing the drugs and they're all like sitting around talking about their lives, but instead of weed, they're like doing straight up inject yourself and heroin type drugs. But I enjoyed the film. I like the main character, you know, and I like the final shot of this film is, you know, it's November 1st, and it feels very much like November 1st. Like, it feels depressing, like Halloween has ended. And
it's like that Halloween hangover.
Yeah, like you see all the decorations on houses are kind of like torn down, pumpkins rotted, the streamers like everywhere, like people TP'd the area, so I thought that was done really well. But I like it. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's decent.
Nice. Alright, so what next? Do we have movies from the theater?
From the theater, we do. We went to the drive-in on the night that we recorded last, actually, and that was
Sunday.
Brownsville Drive-In, yes, Sunday, and it was a double feat of Halloween 2018 with TCM 1974.
Yeah, the second to last showing of the year for the Brownsville Drive-In. They honestly, what did we go, like 5 times maybe?
Yeah, we went more than we've gone like in our entire friendship, I think, this year. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was a pretty good season. There were weekends that I wanted to go that I couldn't. But yeah, it was Halloween 2018, which we revisited. We had seen this in the theater at the Luxury Theater, where I actually going tonight at in 2018, and I really liked it, and you guys didn't.
Correct.
Yeah, you liked it, but you just weren't that impressed with it, and I was like arguing with you guys because I'm like, no, it was great. But after seeing it again, I definitely have come down, and now I'm like way down. Like it was cool seeing it at the drive-in. I'm not gonna lie, like it was a good night. Everything was going good for the movie, like atmosphere-wise, it was perfect. You know, a little bit of rain that made it creepy out. That it was cold but not like freezing. It was a good time. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, dude, and it's sad because like I thought like this will be one that just grows on me with watches, and it's kind of stood dormant. Like it hasn't really, I wouldn't say it really has gone down. I do think it's an enjoyable film. It's a Halloween movie, you know. It's if you kind of forget about the franchise, like I can have fun with it, but there's just a lot of missteps that I did not like in this movie that I just wish I could have just made my own Halloween movie. So it's definitely disappointing for me still, but like I said, I wouldn't say it's like the worst in the franchise by any means. There's a lot of bad Halloween movies that have been made, but just story-wise, I'm not a big fan. I hate the Dr. Sartain stuff. I hate Karen, the daughter. I hate that whole aspect. I don't like that they got rid of the family aspect because it just seems stupid that Lori is like waiting 40 years for this guy to come kill her. I don't know, and why would he? He has no care to do that, and she kind of just, I don't know. There's just a lot I do not care for, but it was still fun to watch, I guess. But
yeah, it was fun to watch, but I just don't like, to me, and I'm actually getting already tired of talking about it because I've talked about it like on my YouTube video and then in comments, like, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But like for me, I do really agree with the fact that like taking away the brother-sister angle was kind of dumb in hindsight if you're just going to do the exact same thing but have them not be brothers and sisters. Because now it feels like contrived and forced, because it's like at least when they were brother and sister there was a reason Michael was after Lori, but now there's no reason he's after her other than somebody points him in the direction, which is more dumb.
Yeah.
How is being blindly pointed in the direction more interesting than brother and sister angle?
Yes.
Like, if you're going to use the argument that it was better when it was just him randomly killing people and just wandering upon Laurie Strode, well, then you would still say, you would still not have that in this?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. Like, because you wouldn't even have Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie. I feel like if you were trying to actually make this a slasher, where
I
Michael
would
Myers
laugh my ass off if in the next one they made a brother and sister again.
Yeah, they like panic and they're like, okay, well, they pull like a Halloween 2 and just like shoehorn it in there like a little bit.
Well, I think that the good idea would be for them, and I hear this is kind of what they're going to do, is just let Michael Myers loose on the town. We did the setup in the first film, and then it's more like Laurie Strode and family trying to stop him at the end of the film or something like that. But yeah, it's not. It should be pretty fun. Looking forward to the sequel, even if I didn't like this one. This one did feel like a lot of setup. I hate the podcasters. It doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah,
why
that's
they would
the
have
I don't
the
like
mask. It doesn't make sense. A lot of like the Doctor is some of the worst writing in a big, big horror film that had come out for like a major success story. It just doesn't make sense. The opening scene, I liked it at first, but it really is kind of stupid.
It's just like I don't know, they try to do this dramatic cold open, but it would be like me standing there holding a shoelace going like, I don't know, eat this! It's just like they try to, just screaming say something doesn't make it bone-chilling. I mean, the credits coming on, I really dug that. I was like, hell yeah, when we first saw that in the theater and the pumpkin inflating. I know some people didn't even like that. They thought the pumpkin thing was stupid, but
no,
I like that quite a bit, but I just think the opening build-up isn't anything. It's just nothing. Yeah.
The scares weren't there that much. I actually did like the segment with the kid and the little black kid with the babysitter. It actually is kind of funny. I do like that. I'm not gonna lie. It was cool.
Yeah. I do too.
And then yeah, so that's it. I'm at a 7 on that. So I went from like an 8.5 to a 7.
I'm also at a 7. I think I've always been at a 7, and it's just not really moving. So. Yeah.
All right. And then we watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, my favorite horror film of all time, and we watched it together at the drive-in. It was pretty cool. Basically, these kids are visiting their old grandparents' house or father's. I think it's grandparents, right?
I think so. Yes.
They run out of gas. They try to check on the neighbors, but the neighbors is like these weirdos. And before that, they pick up a hitchhiker, and he like cuts himself in the back of their van, and is real creepy and stuff like that, and cuts Franklin. Everybody knows the story. I love it. I think it's one of the most horrifying movies out there. I love, honestly, almost every minute of this movie.
Yes, I like it quite a bit too. It's just so unique looking, and the sound design where there's not really a score. It's just like that. Oh my god, what do you call that on the cymbals? Not cymbals. That like drum beat that's like. I can't do it. Anyway, it's got cool noise in it that makes it creepy, and the atmosphere is just great. It's a good move. Good move.
Yeah, and I love the opening with the hitchhiker. Like, that scene by itself is what makes the movie. It's so scary. Like, he just comes in there and he's like, I got a knife. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, you like head cheese? My brother makes it real good. You know?
I was watching, well, I didn't really watch it, but I caught, like, the beginning of TCM 3 yesterday before I went on that walk I took, and
where was
that
it
one's
showing?
really... What? What'd you say?
Where was it showing?
On, what was it? I forget what channel it was.
Yeah, that's not one you see play very often.
Might have been Sci-Fi, but I feel like that's wrong. I don't know. I was just like scrolling through on my Sling TV thing, and I want to say it was like Sci-Fi, but I feel like maybe not. But no, I think it was Sci-Fi because it was like Critter's Attack was just ending, and then that was starting, and Critter's Attack sounds like one that would play on there. So, but yeah, they had that on there, and I was surprised. So I was watching like the beginning, and they go to the gas station, and I never picked it. Like, that guy takes a picture of her, and he's like, "It's a good picture. Want to buy this picture? It's a good picture." And he's just taking that from the first film. Yeah. I don't really like TCM3 though. I liked it the first time I saw it, but now I think it's boring.
I loved it growing up, but yeah, it's not my favorite. I don't know if I think I watched it not too like a year ago or something, and I was like, yeah, that's all right. But yeah, I mean, technically that's supposed to be his like cousin or brother or something, so it would make sense.
Yeah.
They're all related.
Yeah, I don't like the whole family in that movie. I don't really care for it.
Yeah, the family is not that great in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one with Tex or whatever the hell his name is, right?
Yeah, it's like the distant relatives are now taking care of Leatherface, I guess. But
Grandpa's still there though. That's all that matters.
Yeah, Gramps.
Yeah, I love the idea of Leatherface, and I love that's what's cool about Leatherface is like through all the iterations, you're wondering wonder what kind of family I'm gonna get this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Right. But yeah. This one was a cool one to see in the drive-in.
Right.
I feel. 10 out of 10 would watch again.
10 out of 10 would watch again. Okay, your blind spot.
Mine blind dick. I got Superbad from 2007, I think. What?
I wish I had time to actually give it a watch, but I just watched a bunch of clips on YouTube last night instead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Superbad, basically...
Don't even front. You know you loved it.
Well, I was gonna talk... I wasn't fronting!
Yeah,
I was gonna tell the plot!
Yeah, right. You're
I was gonna tell the plot! It's about... It's about these really awkward teenage boys who, it's like the last 2 or 3 weeks of school, they're seniors, and, it's kind of funny, they're like older than high school kids, but they actually look like for some reason they look really young. But they're going to graduate soon, and they get invited to this party, and they have this one friend who says he's going to get a fake ID, so they're like, hey, let's just say we're going to, we could buy the alcohol for this party, and they're trying to impress these 2 girls in particular and get this alcohol that they want. The one girl hosting a party gives him the one kid $100. It's supposed to be like her spending money for food to go buy just all these booze for the party. So, whole movie is they're trying to just buy. They stop, at the regular beer store first, and one Jonah Hill's character Seth, he gets kind of cold feet, and then they're like, screw it, and they go with their other dude who has the fake ID that's just an awful fake ID, and they're going to the liquor store.
That whole scene's hilarious because they're like, he's like, got my fake ID, and they're like, what? They're like, why would you make yourself 25? They're like, he's like, and of course Fogel's got a reason behind it, everybody makes it 21, but when you're 25 they don't look at it, and then they're like, why do you have one name, and why is it McLovin? He's like, I was either gonna go with that or Muhammad. He's like, why the f would you go with either of those? He's like, Muhammad's the most common name in the world.
I kind of like his thought process though with the 25 thing, because that would be something I would do too. Think oh, 21 sounds really suspicious. I'm gonna have to up it a little bit, but 25, it's
too far.
So old. He looks like he's 15. But yeah, so they're trying to get, the whole movie is them trying to get alcohol for the party, and then they're McLovin, I forget what his real name, Fogel. Yeah, okay, you said Fogel. He gets caught up with these police officers, and the whole movie's kind of him in the back of their car and going on adventures with them, played by, Seth Rogen and Bill Hader, and the other 2 are just on their own, and it's a funny movie, I will admit. At first, I thought I wasn't going to like it going into it, because, it starts out, with a bang. It's just them talking about sex and them talking about what porn site they're going to subscribe to next year, and it's all just naughty and bad, and I'm like, okay, I just never thought I would really get behind this type of over-the-top naughty comedy, but as it goes on, I was laughing out loud. I mean, the part where Jonah Hill, he's talking to that girl, and she says, I forget what she says, like, give me a hand. He's like, good thing I forget what it is, but he's like, good thing my back, I got your back, and he's like, good thing my back happens to be on my cock, or something like that, and it's just, like, really stupid, and they're awkward. Michael Cera, of course, is just playing Michael Cera, where everything he says is super matter-of-fact and awkward.
Yeah, I like when he's, like, they're sitting there talking in the middle of gym class, and dude runs by, he's like, come on, Evan, we're down by 2 points. He's like, come on, Greg, it's fucking soccer, okay?
It's soccer, yeah. Relax.
Relax, Greg, it's fucking soccer.
That reminds me of you, kind of.
Does it really?
Yeah, well, both it kind of reminds me of you in both aspects, because I could see you taking the sport way too seriously, but then I can also tell you, like, see you saying, like, bro, relax, like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
so,
you're right. I am both of those people. It just depends what day it is.
Right. And then just that part, like that part where the Fogel first goes into the liquor store and he's trying to be real cool, and he goes to get one drink and drops all the bottles on the floor, and or the cans, and they're spraying out, and he just drops the other one he's holding. Because some of this reminds me of something I would do too, where I just, like, drop it all, like, in a panic. I'm like, might as well throw this one down too, and then I just stand there and act like everything's cool, and then that guy comes up to him and he's like, is there a problem here? And he's like, no, and there's just this mess on the floor, and he's like, did you make this mess on the floor? And he's like, no, you're gonna have to clean it up. And yeah, there's a lot of classic moments in this move, and I thought it was funny and entertaining, and another one that makes me kind of depressed because I didn't party at all in high school, and I wish I would have.
Yeah,
but
I love this. I mean, this movie came out in 2009, right?
2000. I thought it was 2007.
Oh, 2007.
Maybe.
Okay,
Somewhere.
so 2007.
Same.
I would have been like sophomore.
16. Yeah.
Perfect age, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, me and my friends watched this so many times. But you know what was crazy is, like, we were having parties that, like, were better than these sometimes, you know what I mean? So it was like, it was kind of cool, but it didn't feel like that much fantasy. The only thing that felt like fantasy was, like, all the cop stuff and
cop
like, all
stuff
that.
So over the top bad. Dude, those two are great. Like,
I know, they are. They are. I love, like, it's just an awkward movie too. Like, he's even like, she's like your cock is so smooth, and he's like, yours would be too if you were a man or something. Like, it's so stupid. It's a good movie, but I love when, like, Jonah Hill is hilarious. I love Jonah Hill. Great move. Made $178 million at the box office. This was the era of the Judd Apatow comedies. And it was a great big boom for comedy movies, and it really hasn't rebounded. This was like the last great boom, because of course in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had stuff like, you know, Road Trip and Euro Trip and American Pie and all those movies that I can't remember, like Harold and Kumar and stuff like that. I guess that wasn't really technically a sex comedy, even though there was some sex stuff in it. But, like, it doesn't have to necessarily be a sex comedy, but, like, adult comedy.
I mean.
Yeah, like stoner comedy, but, like, Pineapple Express, Superbad, Knocked Up, I mean, 40-Year-Old Virgin, like, the list goes on and on. Like, these were some great movies of the era, and I'm sad that there's hasn't been a comedy boom really since then.
Yeah, comedies suck now.
Yeah, they do.
I feel like just so many try so hard.
It's all like Bridesmaids and fucking stupid shit.
It's all like adult. It's not teen comedy anymore.
I feel
it's all
like
adults.
The era ended with that of the Hangover trilogy.
Yeah. You're about right there. I haven't even watched a lot of comedies lately, but even just seeing the trailers when we go to the theater, I just think so many of them look stupid, like completely unappealing. I mean, that Good Boys movie was horrible. Like, that was
that was the one I thought was gonna bring it back.
Yeah, it was like the kid version of Superbad, which you said back then.
It was okay. It wasn't horrible. It just
they
just
ruined
all
it with
the
the
funny
trailer.
stuff was in the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Your blind spot.
What do you rate it?
Oh, I give that a 9 out of 10.
Definitely worth 9. Okay, my blind spot is 7. which is The Wedding Singer.
Oh no.
Alright, let's go again. Randomize 8, which is My Sister's Keeper.
Oh no.
Again, 2, which is The Hand That Rocks the Dick.
Yeah.
Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Okay. Cool. That's actually one of the ones that I was looking forward to on there, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, I think you will like that one.
Okay. From the year 1990, Deuce. Let's go. Can I review that on my channel? Is it horror enough? Thriller?
It's like it is like thriller. It's got like a death scene or two.
Would that be like a film that, if we got 1992 on a gear, is that a film that could show up on lists?
I would probably put it on my.
Okay,
it reminds me of like a Cape.
Maybe I'll
Fear
review it for my channel too. Then kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I would classify it as like a Cape Fear, like borderline thriller, very dark thriller type of film.
All right then.
Right.
On
to the move.
Is it?
I think.
I'm sleepy. We're gonna take a nizzle.
Buddy!
What?
Come on, dude! Let's focus! We're on that.
Okay. Yeah, but, yeah, it sounds like a Cape Fear type thing. So, maybe I'll do that.
Yes, you can do it. Go ahead.
Okay. Alright. Tales from the Hood 3. The third in the Tales from the Hood film series, which is weird considering the first one came out all the way back in 1995, and it is now 2020, so what, 25 years ago, essentially?
Yeah.
Tales from the Hood 3 is written and... is it written by... There's no Wikipedia page for this. Rusty Cundiff and Darren Scott.
Alright.
So, Tales from the Hood 3 is an anthology film. We're going to get into the segments and also the letterbox reviews, which Carly will have for later. So, Rusty Cundiff is a director who was born in the hometown of us, kind of. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yes. He directed the original Tales from the Hood in 1995. Worked on The Chappelle Show as a director. And then pretty much a lot of TV. And then he did Tales from the Hood 2 in 2018 and Tales from the Hood 3 this year. But still, he made a freaking classic in Tales from the Hood. But Tales from the Hood 3 is it's an anthology film. The opening is a man and a 6-year-old little girl who are trying to outrun an unseen evil. The little girl decides to tell the older man, played by Tony Todd, a story, which that's sort of our wraparound segment, which is her telling stories, 4 of them to be exact. The first story here follows a greedy real estate agent, David, who wants to move a couple and their child out of one of his houses, which is slated to be demolished. It's an apartment complex. He wants to move them out so they can build something new there, a la People Under the Stairs. And this family does not want to move because their son has cancer. He's going through chemo. The stress will stress him out, and it'll be bad for his chemo, so they say no. Frustrated because he loses a lot of money, this guy hires this douchebag to go burn down the building, but he wants to make sure the family get out. Turns out they don't get out. They get severely burned, and now he's being haunted by them. What did you think of that one?
I thought this one was pretty good, pretty dark. You know, it's like, it's sad. You know, this family, they have a kid with cancer, and then they have to deal with this jackass trying to kick them out of their home, and then they get killed in this horrific way of burning, which is very painful and terrible. I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it. I thought it had some creepy moments whenever they start kind of haunting him. Like the whole apartment complex look and stuff like that. It looked like a really good segment, you know, cinematography wise. And I liked, it was pretty serious as well. It was a very serious type of segment. So I enjoyed this one. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, and it was pretty scary. With some of the visuals, it was, you know, very disturbing. And
like the fire effects and stuff on them too when they're burnt looked pretty good.
Yeah, there was actually a few little jump scares that got me in there. Overall, I thought it was a really solid segment. In my opinion, the best segment of this story, the film. What about you? Your favorite?
There's one later on that just I liked because for my own personal reasons, I guess.
I'm just that's what I'm asking though. What's your favorite? If this was your favorite, you said no, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. No.
Okay, because you weren't saying no though. That's why I asked.
I was thinking about it. Think about it before, so now you know.
Shut up.
Let's move on, shall we?
You're getting on my nerves.
I'm mad.
You stop growling at me.
No, dude. Like I answered the question.
I said, "Is this your favorite segment?" And you said,
put me on the spot.
"No, yeah."
I'm not gonna say. Well, I didn't want to.
There's one that I find to be more enjoyable or something like that. I'm not asking you which one's best.
I watched this a week ago.
I'm not asking you which one's best though.
I'm not answering which one's best. I'm thinking about all the shorts as a whole to think like, did I really like this one the best, or did I like the other one more?
When you watch a anthology, you don't immediately after it's over think about which one your favorite one was.
A lot of times I think about which one I thought was total crap, but because that sticks out more to me. Because a lot of times I find a lot of them to be similar in quality. Anyway, let us go on, please.
The second segment follows a what the hell?
Are you talking about the IMDb synopsis?
Yeah. Does that sound real to you?
I didn't think it did. I was reading this too, and I'm thinking like maybe I've completely tuned out during this because that doesn't sound.
Yeah, I don't think that's real.
Yeah.
So the second segment, I'll just go off of my own memory. It follows like a guy who's in like some sort of bunker or something, like off the grid kind of thing, where he's talking on a radio platform. You get the sense that it might be some sort of post-apocalyptic type thing, but it's not really, but you're not sure. You don't really know. And he basically is talking on the intercom radio thing about politics and black people and pretty much a white supremacist in a way. And yeah, he fears that there's people closing in on him because he shouts towards the edge of his property line at people to get away and stuff, but we don't see them because it's from their point of view. So yeah, and then there's a ending that is sort of a twist ending. What did you think of that one?
That one was okay. That one's probably my least favorite, and I didn't think it was necessarily bad. I just found it very forgettable. Like it was kind of it was kind of simple, I guess.
The only problem about making the story about an obnoxious, like horrible racist person is this type of story is then we have to actually sit there and listen to the obnoxious, horrible, racist person. And I also felt like it was a little it was definitely exaggerated because this guy was just a moron, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was just like annoying more than, so it was like, I'm glad, I feel like this one's shorter than all of them, and thankfully, if it is, thankfully it is, because it did not need to be any longer. And I will say that the ending was cool. I really liked the ending, but up until that point, it was almost insufferable. I actually hated most of the segment. Like, just from, I don't think it's like necessarily bad. It was just annoying. I was uninterested in this guy.
Dude, I'm like laughing at the summary on IMDb. Like, I don't understand what that is.
I feel like they watched a different movie.
Yeah, but everything else is right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I agree. It wasn't. There was really just nothing to it that I was like, yay, this is great. So.
Yeah. Okay.
The weakest.
And the third story revolves around a struggling singer and her rich employer who she wants to kill to take her money to further her music career. So we have this young girl who's like struggling musician. She knows her boyfriend knows of this old lady who basically wants to hire a companion to like sit around and listen to her tell stories and stuff. And, you know, kind of help her out. She's an old lady, but she was a former opera singer, and so the girl takes the job, but she really doesn't like her. The boyfriend suggests maybe we should kill her because she has a lot of money. The only and then, you know, obviously things go wrong. The only issue I had with this is, like, how does killing her get you any money?
I don't know. I did not think about that.
Because,
I don't think
I mean,
would.
If you're saying you're just going to steal all her money when she dies, then you could just do that without killing her.
True.
You just rob her. You know, how does killing her get you all the money? Like, you're not on her life insurance because they want to kill her and make it look like an accident. But it's like, that doesn't help you.
Maybe they think that she'll just give it to that Chayla because she's like the only one there for her. Or...
Yeah, but how would she give it to her if she was dead?
Well, maybe she will leave it with her, because doesn't she gives her like a something out, like a ring or something.
Yeah, but I mean, like if someone dies, if your boss dies, and you're like, hey, police, she said I could have all this stuff in here, they're gonna be like, no.
Perhaps they were going to kill her and then rob her, and then before telling I don't know, before the police showed up, perhaps.
Yeah, but then the police would be like, okay, well, it looks like this woman died from, you know, natural causes, but all her stuff's missing, so we're going to roll this as a homicide and investigate. And then it makes no sense on making it look like an accident.
But I think the way they were going to kill her was, like, plausible. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, but if all her stuff is missing, the police aren't going to be like, it was
so you didn't murder. I see.
Yeah, if all stuff's missing, they're going to be like, okay, maybe we need to look closer into that plausible death there.
Right. Okay, yeah, that is an issue.
But everything else I really liked about this segment. It was good.
I liked this segment probably the most because it made me queasy. There's a lot of... Because basically this lady, she's old and she has like a bad anemia and needs blood transfusions all the time. And that stuff grosses me out. And there's like a refrigerator with all these bags of blood in it. And there's a scene where it shows like blood being taken from someone. And I legit was sitting there and I started getting that lightheaded feeling that I get when I'm going to faint. And I was, what?
It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird, I guess. But like I was like, I'm actually going to faint watching a move. This has never happened to me before. But then I like snapped out of it. Thank God, because I was alone and that would have sucked. And I would have had to watch the move later on because I would have been passed out. But okay.
I thought it was going to go like vampire territory at first with the blood transfusions and stuff, but it doesn't. It's a pretty cool segment. I like the ending. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. And then the final segment is about a dude who basically punches people, sucker punches them, and robs them. And he does it to one kid, and then all of a sudden he's like having trouble going to the bathroom, like he's like crapping his pants, and he's you know, stiff, and he smells bad and different things like that. And then he starts seeing like these angels like stealing people's souls and stuff and all this stuff, and he's being like hunted or haunted. What'd you think of this one?
I like this one too. I thought it was gross and disturbing what was happening to him.
At first I thought it was going to be like comedy because it starts out and the guy's like farting and pooping and stuff.
Yeah, I was like, what? That was like disgusting.
And I was like, oh, here we go again.
Mhm. But no, I liked it. It was like the concept when he finds out like why this is happening to him. It's just like freaky and disgusting to me, and I would be like, holy shit.
Yeah, I thought this one was really good. It's definitely my second favorite in the anthology there. It's got a cool ending. Definitely reminds me of the original Tales from the Hood. So that it got that going for it. The only thing overall that I wish this movie had a little bit more was like hip hop influence and actual a little more black influence.
That's kind of like I told Austin check this out, and he kind of came back to me and said like he felt like a lot of these stories were more just like black people in them, and there wasn't as much like meaningful story to them. So I could kind of see that, like, yeah, it just doesn't have the same touch as the first one.
Or even the second one in a way, like, because even those stories, the two of them at least, the Emmett Till one and then the like racist historical one was, you know, had actual black relevant things, but you could have honestly, you know, minus any of all of the stories except for maybe the second one, you could have replaced the people in the scenarios with other races and it wouldn't have changed anything. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I mean, that it's not really a complaint, it's just like, that's why I love Tales from the Hood so much, is it's like super relevant to black people.
Yeah, because even like the third one, it's like they just do a quick thing where she's like, yeah, this opera thing means a lot to me because black people, it was unheard of having them be the star of the opera, and that's like kind of
yeah, that's a little bit. That's something tying it in, but yeah.
Yeah.
It really wouldn't have changed the story if it was a white person.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, other than that, and the first one has so much like rap culture and stuff in it that I just wish that these ones did a little bit more too. But I still thought this was a really solid anthology film, way better than the second one. So the only thing is the wraparound I thought was really weak. They should have had Tony Todd playing Sims or something, because it's just, I don't know, why have this basic ass story?
Yeah, I kind of like Tony Todd though in this. I thought he was good for what he was. I felt like he fit that part. I felt like he fit that part pretty well, yes. He did a great job, yes. Stop!
Alright. So what do you rate Tales from the Hood 3?
Overall, I give it like an 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
I'm at a 7.
Alright. See, I didn't mind part 2. I gave that like a 6.5. So yeah,
I gave that one like a 5.5.
Yeah, like this one's like a bigger step up for me because the short's really serious and more. I liked pretty much all of them.
All right. So with that said, guys, we need to get into these Letterboxd reviews.
All right. I guess I shall do this one by Todd, who gave it. This is a bad one. It is a 1.5 star, and it says, "Don't bang on the force field. It disturbs the animals." What? Okay. I really enjoy the Tales from the Hood series. The original is a classic piece of comedy, horror, and political satire. The follow-up is a pointed and underrated low-budget commentary on the Trump era that I think works better than most people acknowledge. This third installment is the weakest of the franchise by far, but possesses a bunch of heart like the other two. This series really tries, and I appreciate that about it. A few thoughts on the specifics of the film. 1, the wraparound. Seeing Tony Todd is always delightful for me, but I wish that this was either funnier or spookier. 2, eviction story. Boring. This is just kind of a bland approach to this particular topic. Standard haunting stuff with no real bite. 3, bunker asshole. Scandalous insight into the daily life of a Trump voter is valuable, funny, and creepy. 4, opera lady. Boring, weird, and convoluted story that doesn't fit well with the typical tone and focus of Tales from the Hood. 5, poop and pee. Gross out humor mixed with boring supernatural stuff. It's too bad this one sucks. Part 3 comes from a creative team that is preparing for the end of days. The clips feel angrier and more despondent than the prior installments, and the messages are ones of real desperation. Unfortunately, these sentiments still resulted in what amounts to a pretty boring series of stories.
Okay.
He called that one short poop and pee.
I didn't agree with most of what he said, but okay.
Yeah, he kind of is just like boring.
Mm-hmm.
Boring.
Anybody who comes into the review and praises the second film first, I'm gonna not believe what they have to say.
Right. Hold on, let me see. And then a positive one, we have a 3.5 star here. It says, full disclosure, I am apparently one of the few who liked part 2 and thought it was just fine. Maybe it was trying to be too of the moment, and its low budget shot on digital in Louisiana-ness just definitely showed, but I still enjoyed the stories. I didn't learn it was pretty much unanimously hated until the other day when getting ready to watch this one. So if you were one of those who hated it, maybe not listen to me. If the low budgetedness of the last one turned you off, this one is much more professional looking if that's your thing. This time, wraparound is way less goofy than the second one, which I enjoyed, but really turned off others, it seems. I didn't like the wraparound in part 2 at all. This one is an atmospheric tale of Tony Todd, I don't care what he played in, dude, leading a young lass into a spooky place. First story about evictions is probably the best. Second story is about a racist jerk being a jerk in his bunker. Your enjoyment on it is based on how much you enjoy the twist. Third story is about an R&B singer spending time with an old lady who never really got her fair shake at the spotlight. One of those I like what it was, saying more than I liked it.
Is this poorly written? Because it's like coming off poorly written.
Yeah, that sentence wasn't a sentence. And then it says, fourth story is one people will most likely talk about meme, as it's about a jerk peeing and pooping himself, so, you know, pretty good. Buddy, I'm sorry, okay, these are all long, and, like, I don't prepare them ahead of time.
You didn't prep ahead of time. That's what the problem is.
Buddy, I'm sorry, there's not that many yet, anyway, and, like, most of them are, like, 2.5, 1
You could have read Austin's.
Where's his at? What? Oh, he did. Oh, I didn't even notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Austin Shoyhair says, honestly a little underwhelmed considering everyone is saying this is a step up from the second one. I honestly enjoyed the second one more. This one felt even more so like just basic stories than the second one did. The original had a lot to say in every story. These just felt like stories that just happened to have black people in them. The stories were fine, just nothing mind-blowing. 6.5 out of 10.
I mean, I don't disagree with what he's saying. I'm kind of with him on that. I just tended to like the stories a little bit more, so that's where the extra half point comes for me.
Yeah, that's what I told him too. Like, I like the stories, but I do agree it's not as much saying anything special.
Alright, so that's going to wrap this episode up. Next week, we will be tackling the Brandon Cronenberg movie, hopefully, called The Possessor. And, yeah, so that will be coming next week. So, that's it.
That is it.
Peace out, guys.
Bye.